Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's great to kick off today's session. I'm Seth Letterman, CEO of Tonix Pharmaceuticals. We trade on the NASDAQ under ticker TNXP, and I'll be making forward-looking statements, and I refer you to our SEC documents for more information about the company. And also as a disclosure, I'm an employee of Tonix and I own equity. Well, this is a very exciting time for Tonix. We are filing the new drug application for our lead program, which is a new treatment for fibromyalgia. I don't think there are many biotech companies that get to this point where we took it from the beginning to now filing with the FDA for approval. So we expect approval for the drug, but we expect a decision on approval in 2025. Which in biotech is very close. So I'm going to tell you about fibromyalgia, then I'll tell you about our drug, I'll tell you about our most recent study, and give you an idea about where we're headed as a company. I've been working on fibromyalgia for more than 25 years. Before I went into biotech, I was a professor at Columbia Medical School in the division of rheumatology. And rheumatology is a subspecialty of medicine that takes care of fibromyalgia. But fibromyalgia is really two things. The first is it's a chronic pain disorder. So a treatment for fibromyalgia is a treatment for pain or an analgesic. But fibromyalgia is also a syndrome, meaning it's composed of several different elements. And fibromyalgia is more than just pain. It also has a sleep problem called non-restorative sleep, and fatigue, which basically means low energy. So those three symptoms, widespread pain, that's pain you hurt all over your body, non-restorative sleep, and fatigue are the three key elements of fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia is a large and underserved market. There are about 10 million American adults with fibromyalgia, and fibromyalgia patients typically suffer from this for years or even decades. So it's a chronic condition. There are 3 approved drugs by the FDA, but there is a lot of dissatisfaction with those drugs. They have tolerability issues, so people can't take them for long periods of time. And they also have modest efficacy. But their efficacy is really limited to pain, and then to some extent they help the other symptoms. But no one has yet come up with a drug that helps with all 3 of the main symptoms that make up fibromyalgia. Now, fibromyalgia patients switch drugs pretty frequently. They take, on average, 3 prescription drugs simultaneously for fibromyalgia. That's called polypharmacy. And in desperation, many fibromyalgia patients take opiates. And they should never take opiates. Opiates are for a different kind of pain. But unfortunately, between 1/4 and 1/3 of fibromyalgia patients wind up on chronic opiates with all of the risks that are associated with that. And now that it's harder to get prescription opiates, many patients have to go to street opiates like fentanyl or heroin because they can't get the prescriptions because people have tightened down on that. Also for fibromyalgia, there has not been a new drug approved since 2009. That's a long time for fibromyalgia patients to wait. Now, as I mentioned, I've been working on fibromyalgia for many years, but our work started really with innovations from other people, that there's a vicious cycle between pain and sleep. So when people have bad sleep, they hurt more. When they hurt more, it's hard to sleep. So this vicious cycle is really at the heart of fibromyalgia. And somehow this vicious cycle creates a vortex, and somehow it spins off fatigue, that low energy state, and also brain fog. So our company, our whole company, the focus of this program has been, can we target sleep? can we target sleep and then improve pain and all the other things? So we're trying to break the vicious cycle of bad sleep and more pain. So here's our potential solution. We call it Tonmya. It is a sublingual tablet, so it goes under the tongue. It rapidly dissolves and disintegrates and dissolves under the tongue, and people are instructed to take it at bedtime. And the goal of this treatment is to improve sleep quality. Sleep quality is different from sleep quantity. There are many drugs, hypnotics, sedatives, things like Ambien, Lunesta, you've heard of many of these drugs, that make people fall asleep, but they don't improve sleep quality. And what we believe the key to breaking that vicious cycle is a drug that improves sleep quality. So our solution is this proprietary, patented, sublingual medicine, rapidly disintegrates, rapidly dissolves, and it releases into the bloodstream a drug called cyclobenzaprine. So our tablet delivers cyclobenzaprine directly into the bloodstream from the mucosal membranes of the mouth. And you see that on the right. It's a sublingual tablet, but it also has transmucosal absorption, meaning it goes right across the mucosal membrane. Now, many drugs that you read about, maybe you're even taking drugs that dissolve in the mouth, they can be called ODT medicines. They can even be called sublingual. But oftentimes those drugs, the tablet breaks apart in the mouth, but the patient actually swallows it. In our case, the drug enters the bloodstream through the mucous membranes in the mouth. And that has two advantages. First of all, we get very rapid uptake because it goes directly in. And the second is, if you see on the left, a swallowed tablet, when you swallow a tablet, it goes into the small intestine, and then it has to pass through the liver. And the liver metabolizes cyclobenzaprine and creates a metabolite that's not fit for our purposes. So we think that there are two main advantages of our sublingual transmucosal formulation. One is the rapid absorption, and the other is the decrease in this metabolite that's shown in the middle called norcyclobenzaprine. So here's a summary of a lot of work, 3 phase 3 studies. 2 of them are positive, and that's what we intend to file our new drug application based on. So the first pivotal study we reported in December 2020, and then we did another study that missed the primary endpoint in July of 2021. That's not uncommon when you're working in central nervous system. Even a very active drug can occasionally miss a study. And we think that that miss was related to the Delta wave of the COVID pandemic. We were enrolling right in the middle of the Delta wave of the COVID pandemic, and we had more dropouts than we'd expected, and that really confounded the results of that trial. But we just reported in December of last year the statistically significant results of our second pivotal study. So we believe we have everything we need to file the new drug application for Tonmya, for fibromyalgia. So here's the results of the study. This is the primary endpoint shown over the 14 weeks of the study. The people on drug are shown in blue, and the people in placebo are shown in red. When the graphs go down, that means there's a decrease in their pain. This is the primary endpoint. And you can see there is a placebo response, which unfortunately makes it hard to develop central nervous system drugs. But you can also see in blue that our drug response exceeded the placebo response at all time points, and it was highly statistically significant. So the threshold for a positive study for FDA is 0.05. That's a p-value, and the lower number, the better. our p-value at the week 14, the primary endpoint, had 4 zeros. So it was 0.00005. So it was 1,000 times better than we needed to satisfy FDA. So this is a demonstration, and we have already had a study that reached statistical significance in 2020, but this study is now a confirmatory pivotal phase 3 study and will be the basis of our new drug application. Now, here's the p-value shown as the primary endpoint, but I'm also showing you the 6 pre-specified secondary endpoints in this study. First one's patient global, then symptoms, then function, then sleep disturbance, then fatigue, and sleep quality. All 6 of the secondary endpoints also had statistically significant p-values. So this says a couple of things. First of all, it shows that our drug is active across a broad array of fibromyalgia symptoms and function. But as I mentioned in the early on, there has not yet been a drug that works in all 3 of the domains that really matter to fibromyalgia patients: pain, sleep, and fatigue. You can see the PROMIS sleep disturbance instrument had, I think that's 5 zeros in front of the 1, and the PROMIS fatigue had 4 zeros in front of a 9. So we had highly statistically significant improvement in these symptoms that are relevant to fibromyalgia patients. Now, another symptom of fibromyalgia is called brain fog. And it means that people have trouble concentrating, they can't multitask, they have some memory issues. So we didn't specifically look at brain fog with a pre-specified endpoint, but one of the measures on the fibromyalgia impact questionnaire is a question about memory. So in the p-value for that measurement was 0.001. But I'm showing you that we had a trend or activity in that space, but it was not a pre-specified endpoint like sleep, fatigue, function, global outcome, etc. So here's a summary of what we generally think is the efficacy of our drug. And you see Tonmya on the right, where we work in pain, sleep, and fatigue. The drugs that have been on the market since 2009 are Pfizer's Lyrica, and that worked in pain, and it also helped sleep. But you can see here, it didn't help fatigue. And if you look below where we're showing tolerability issues, actually it lessens people's energy. So it actually isn't just neutral on fatigue, it works against fatigue. And Cymbalta, which was Lilly's drug, worked on pain and also helped fatigue, but it was neutral on sleep, but not only not neutral on sleep, actually insomnia is a common side effect from taking Cymbalta. So I should also mention that Lyrica and Cymbalta were both multi-billion-dollar blockbusters in their day. They're now both generic. But I think you can see from this comparison that we are the first product that has activity in these 3 domains that are important to fibromyalgia patients. Now, in the next few slides, I'm also going to show you information about tolerability. So this is a sneak preview that you can see that Lyrica has a big problem with weight gain, and Cymbalta has issues with insomnia, blood pressure, sexual function, etc. And you can see on the right, the sneak preview is that we were pretty clean. This is a well-tolerated medicine. So here's a summary of the safety and tolerability findings. No effect on weight or blood pressure. And our study was mostly women, because fibromyalgia is more common in women. So there's a scale to look at sexual functioning in women called Changes in Sexual Function Questionnaire. And we weren't just neutral. Actually, patients in this study who took Tonmya had a p-value for an improvement in sexual function. Now, the way I think about it is that it's kind of like the tide going up. Less pain, less fatigue, better sleep, people feel better all over. And that's really an important goal for us, is to try to find a medicine that affects fibromyalgia at what we call the syndromal level. Instead of just treating the individual symptoms, our goal would be to find a medicine that improves fibromyalgia as a syndrome. Here are the adverse events from our study. And if you look at the top, the systemic adverse events, a couple of people got COVID. That's not uncommon in studies right now. But the most common side effects were somnolence and headache. But if you look, the people on drug had somnolence or headache at 3%, whereas the placebo group was 1.3 and 1.8. Suffice it to say, 3% side effects for a drug for a brain condition, a chronic pain condition like fibromyalgia, is a very appealing tolerability profile. As a matter of fact, if you look in the PDR, or the electric version of the PDR, many times you'll see these tolerability or adverse events tables where the cutoff will be something like, they show you ones that are greater or equal to 10% or 15% or even 20%. And we're showing you, just to have something on this table, we're showing AEs that are reported in more than 3%. That's an idea about how well tolerated the medicine was. Now, if you look at the bottom of the chart, we did have what's called administration site reactions. As I said, this is a sublingual medicine that rapidly disintegrates and dissolves. So over the course of the study, that's 98 nights, taking the medicine every night, if even one time during the study you had some tongue numbness, that would go on this chart. So we had about 25% of people who at some point in the study, even one night, said they had tongue numbness. But overall, we have to report this because it's not a therapeutic effect, it's a side effect, but we do not think that this side effect will limit the uptake of the product because they're taking it right before they go to bed. It was self-limited, transient, and in most cases mild. So now let me just give you a summary about where where Tonmya fits into Tonix and what we're doing to prepare for the launch. As I said, our major focus right now is filing the new drug application for Tonmya. We expect to file the application in the second half of this year, and we expect an FDA decision next year. To prepare for the launch, in June of last year, we acquired 2 marketed migraine products, and I'll tell you a little bit about them. But in order to successfully launch a product in today's complex pharmaceutical marketplace, it's very helpful if a company already has commercial operations. So we acquired these products. We think these are really interesting products, but they also played a role in our ultimate vision of transforming into a commercial company. So right now, we do market these products, and Tonix is, as we stand here today, a fully integrated biopharmaceutical company with 2 products on the market. And this, we believe this will prepare us for a successful launch of Tonmya. We have a number of partnerships, we have a strong pipeline, and we have a lot of internal capabilities, but I'm not going to focus on that today. These are the 2 products that we market. Both of them are prescription products to treat migraine. Now, migraine is a form of pain, and it's a form of pain that affects the brain. That's why we think that these products are highly relevant to launching Tonmya. Now, it's a slightly different group of doctors. Neurologists prescribe these, whereas the high prescribers in fibromyalgia are rheumatologists, but we think that these will really pave the way for us. Both of these, one is a subcutaneous auto-injector, and the other is a nasal spray. Both of them are very appealing products. We believe they're appealing products. They have net sales of about $15 million per year. But going back to fibromyalgia, there is a big unmet need for new treatments for fibromyalgia, and particularly new treatments with good tolerability. So a product that's well tolerated will address this high rate of discontinuation, switching, taking 3 products, all the problems that are going on today. Hopefully, it will reduce the off-label use of opiates, which no fibromyalgia patient should be on an opiate. But what we're bringing forth is a non-opiate analgesic treatment for a chronic pain condition that could provide an important new option. So where are we today? We're a MicroCap at this conference. Where will we be in a couple of years? Well, here are 6 companies that have recently launched drugs that they developed. Axsome, 2 years ago, got approval for Auvelity, and now it's more than a $4 billion market cap, and you can go down the list. So we think that now that we have our own NDA product and we're preparing for a launch, that the future for Tonix and a growth in our market cap and visibility, may come with our success with the FDA. Now, I've focused on fibromyalgia because that's the indication, but I just wanted to point out that we are developing this same product for 2 other potential indications. One we call fibromyalgia-type long COVID. So I'm sure you've heard of long COVID, but long COVID is a term that includes many things. People who have had strokes, heart attacks, whatever. But if you look at the numbers and you look at the research, about 2/3 of long COVID patients have symptoms of widespread pain, trouble sleeping, fatigue, and brain fog. In other words, about 2/3 of long COVID patients, in my view and the view of many experts, basically have a form of fibromyalgia. We've already completed a proof of concept study in 60 patients, and we have very encouraging data. And the final indication, acute stress reaction, in partnership with the Department of Defense, the University of North Carolina is studying our drug, will soon begin studying our drug in a trial on people who have just had automobile accidents, because the Department of Defense is interested to know whether our medicine might decrease the risk of developing PTSD after trauma. So these are both very large additional potential indications for our drug. So my final slide is, here's our pipeline. The first one is fibromyalgia. We're filing with the FDA we're meeting with the FDA this quarter, filing next quarter. We have long COVID and acute stress reaction as additional indications for this product. TNX-1300 is a treatment. This program is being funded by the National Institute of Drug Abuse. It's a breakthrough therapy designation antidote for cocaine intoxication. 2900, we have orphan drug designation and pediatric orphan on an intranasal oxytocin product. And TNX-1500 is a treatment, it's a monoclonal antibody treatment to prevent rejection in organ transplant and in many autoimmune indications. So with that, I'm really excited to tell you today about our Tonmya program, our transformation to a commercial company we've already accomplished with the 2 migraine drugs, but the launch next year of our own internally developed Tonmya for fibromyalgia. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to take questions. Yeah, so the question was, what's the cash situation like right now? The last cash we reported was end of 2023, where we had about $26 million, and our 10Q usually comes out in the middle of May. Yeah. Great. That question was, tell me about the migraine products, how much cash will it generate, et cetera. So the 2 migraine products have gross sales of about $30 million and then net sales about $15 million. That business that is in a wholly owned subsidiary called Tonix Medicines, is not break even on its own. So we expect that it, as a standalone, it's going to continue to lose a few million a year. Before we got the very significant data on Tonmya, we had planned to invest on promoting those drugs, and we have a small promotional effort that we think will help it. But right now, all of our focus is on Tonmya. So I think the way to think about our migraine project is, even though these are very appealing drugs, I really think it's the launching pad for the commercial launch of Tonmya. And, that expense is behind us. And, it's given us a very unique capability. But this strategy is not uncommon in companies launching their first drug to acquire drugs to get into the system. We have relationships with payers, 3PL, the government, all the, the state licenses, everything. So we're really a fully integrated biopharmaceutical company. Yeah. Yeah, the question is, what do I mean by launching pad? And yeah, well, it's very complicated to get drugs into the system right now. So we have relationships with payers, distributors, all the, specialty pharmacies, all the kind of things that you need. So yeah, you could definitely think of it as adding a new SKU to an ongoing thing. Although, there are the contracts with payers are negotiated separately. There'll be an appendix to our existing contract for the new SKU. With that, I'm getting the signal from the back that my time is over. But thank you very much for attending, and thank you for the questions.